which were an update on the medical marijuana applications.
Okay.
City manager watching this and joining us.
He is.
The meeting began. The meeting has begun.
Good evening, Madam Chair. I just want to give a brief update about what's going on in the Community Economic Development Department. We are moving expeditiously ahead with all of our CDBG projects. We're keeping abreast with HUD. I'm still trying to work on a format for this spreadsheet so that I can submit it to you so you can see the projects that we've done and the projects that we have yet to complete. We just completed our final whole house repairs for this round.
Okay.
That was 566 East May.
So will there be another round of home?
Yes, there will. However, now, for our budget, what we budgeted for the 2018 funds that we're still working on trying to expend was 2 whole house and 2 minor house repairs. So that's what we have in the budget. So that's 4 total.
Okay.
We have a waiting list of 40.
Really?
There is a very large waiting list.
I'm sure. Is
now,
that list consisting of just applications that were taken
that have been taken
last year?
Yeah, that it's
So
like a
nothing
rolling.
went back to, okay.
No,
Okay.
just since the previous director was here and resumed the program.
Okay.
So from that time until now, we still have a waiting list of about 40.
Okay.
So what we've been trying to do is kind of keep that list updated. And, you know, there are certain requirements that we have for our program participants. And one thing that we're seeing with potential program participants is we have a lot of them that are delinquent on their property taxes.
Okay.
And the requirement for the program participation is that you have to be current on your
exactly
taxes.
everything.
Yeah, and your homeowner's
I
insurance.
found myself trying to explain that to some residents that that were asking me about, well, why I've been waiting all this. It has nothing to do with that. There's some things that you just must add in order.
So then it disqualifies some of the households. Now, I will say this though, we have had conversations with HUD and they really want us to think about the projects that we choose moving forward as well, just so that we can broaden and expand our community impact. You know, if it would be one thing if we were doing blocks of houses and home repairs, but we're not. We're doing like house here, house in this neighborhood, house there. And so HUD would like to see us do more projects that are expanded in their reach and their impact for like the whole community, as opposed to like, you know, you do, if we work on your house and my house, then that's our households that are impacted versus everybody here, if that makes any sense. So that's something to kind of think about as we move forward.
I mean, like rebuilding a community, sections of a community.
Right.
Okay.
However, you know, our funding is not so much so that we are able to do those repairs on blocks at a time either. So there's just something to kind of ponder and think about.
Madam Chair, let the record show that Chairman Seats has joined us.
Thank you so much.
Economic Development Director Jennings was just giving us an update on block grant activities, and my question next was, they're doing a wonderful job with the armory, finally. Finally, thank you, Lord. What would be the second phase of that, and when will it start?
So the first phase, and because we had to switch some things around only because we couldn't get the windows ordered in enough time. So the window project is going to be the second phase, and that will start after the first phase is completed. So what they're doing now is working on like the tuck pointing and the brickwork and all that. And yeah, we did a walk around that Monday, I believe it was. And yeah, they've started, and I will say that the projects are they're moving very quickly to make sure that we can expend those funds. So, and we'll do our final walk around of the farm market pavilion next week, Tuesday as well.
Okay, my question on the farmer's market is, City Manager Watson, if it's possible, that the commission can get, what was approved by the commission? Because that's not what some of us are seeing going up across the street. Please, appreciate it.
So that project will be wrapped up next week as well.
Well,
So
sure,
those
they
are two of our,
started moving real fast, oh yeah.
two of our big projects at the Armory and the Farm Market.
How much was that project,
Which one?
farmer's market?
250
Wow.
some $1,000.
250 some thousand?
Yeah.
We did just complete 1142 Hurd, which was a whole house repair, and 1129 Jennings, which is minor repair. We've been working with Wade Trim on the housing analysis of impediments, and we talked about farmers market,
Okay.
and that's it regarding projects.
Madam.
No, you got, you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't, but I'd like
What
to,
you wanna talk about?
I'd like to know about the farmer's market.
What part you wanna know about the farmer's market?
I heard that Commissioner Adams asked the city manager for,
What was approved?
oh yeah, and, can I ask if there's a timeline that, cause I've been waiting a long time to get, an understanding of what's going on with the farmer's market. It doesn't look like what we approved.
Until we get that information, City Manager Watson sent out to every commissioner the resolution that we approved along with the schematics that we approved. Had there been anything they had to take out because of cost?
That was the biggest issue. The issue that we had was that for the funding that we had available through community development and the USDA, equated to about $250,000. When we first approved that project was approved, I believe, in 2014. And what happened is that the cost of construction went up since that time. And so now there had to be a scale back of the plan in order to get the monies, in order to come within the confines of what had been approved by the city commission.
Thank you, City Manager Watson, for that report. I think probably the best thing for us to do is wait till they get finished and get the final tally to know how much we put in against what we voted on. Commissioner Henry?
If we had to make some changes because of finance, why wasn't that information shared with us before they made the changes? Because I work with the farmers market every year, and I've been there since Pipestone.
And you're a commissioner?
Yeah, I am a commissioner too. So, we had a conversation about it and what we needed it for, but it doesn't look like it's gonna be able to service the farmers market the way we planned it. Now we do have a cover, but I'm not seeing the final plan if we're gonna be able to drive the trucks up and the cars up.
That's why they just blacktopped that area leading up to it. If you remember what was going on before that, that was grassy area. So the area off the curb there was nothing but grass there, and then all the farmers and or the participants inside of the farmers market resided on the grass. So what has happened since then is that now you have a pavilion along with a paved surface to allow for persons to park on that hard surface and then to basically pedal their wares off the back of their trucks, if that's what they so choose.
Who piles the wares on the back of a truck? We don't do it like that. We got tables. We set it up like a little stores. We don't go
So
out the back of the
Your
truck.
original plan, that was approved by the commission, set it up that way. Yes, it did. That was the one that was approved in 2014.
I get, if I may, my question would be, that surface that, City Manager Watson is talking about,
Mhm.
why was that not concrete? Because what that does,
Cost.
and what it is now, gonna be costly over time.
Cost.
Repair. Concrete lasts longer.
And it cost a lot more.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the concrete that's out there now. I
That's-
mean, some
I
of
mean,
that could have went there.
Honest, that's the thing, Commissioners, that you had a budget that you approved
It was like a joke.
in 2014, that you said, this is what we want. And within the confines of that, concrete would have been there, but again, concrete is a lot more expensive than asphalt.
Okay.
Would you be able to give us all the money? Cause I understand I saw Aaron March on, the pay list several times, maybe 3 times, but definitely several times, approving any changes or whatever they were doing that they got paid and it said farmer's market. I asked that question in finance and I never got the answer. So will you please give us all of the information about where it started and where he is now and how much money was in between who got the money and everything? And please give us a timeline where we can expect it.
So there has been, I've presented that to the Personnel Finance Committee 3 times.
But you didn't tell us about any changes.
Let him finish, please.
I submitted to the Personnel and Finance Committee 3 times what was going on with the farmer's market. What happened from the time that it was the inception, subsequent to that, the decision to do the Square One project in the park, and there was gonna be some modifications to that. Then there was a proposal to move the farmer's market, but the USDA said we could not. The USDA said you apply for it here, in order to do it, you'd have to reapply. So then that put us to the point where we had to either do it there with the money that we had, or not do it at all, and send the money back to the USDA as well as the community development block grant dollars that were allocated for it. So that's what has transpired from when it was approved to when it was modified or was proposed to be modified to when we finally got it where we were ready to do it. We had to move with a degree of expedience because of the state of what Ms. Jennings had just talked about, where we had money that we had to expend. And that was a large chunk of the money that we had to expend. So so if to bracket it from 14 to 19, that's kind of the summation. I can give you all the details in between what happened between then and now. But that's kind of the summation, the overview of what happened.
Yeah, I watched it, but I never heard you say that the design had changed, and I'm still not understanding
I will get all that information.
how the farmer's market is really gonna use this facility.
Again, Commissioner, your initial plan,
We're not talking about 2014
Whoa, this ain't no town hall meeting. And we gonna ask a question, and then he gonna finish, and then you ask a question so we can hear you. And then after she's done, then you answer. But this.
I just wanna know what time frame can we expect this? That's all I wanna
Yeah,
know.
that done by, how much time you think?
within the week. Within the week, actually.
So within five business days or 7 days?
I had 7 days total, 5 business days. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Let the clerk, make record, Ms. Clerk Thompson, that, City Representative Ricky L. Hoskins is here.
No.
Thank you. Any other questions concerning the farmers the update on Community Economic Development Department? Any other questions? Go ahead, sir. Ricky Hoskins.
Yes, Chair, I have a question for the city manager. If you know it, what was the original bid?
The original bill was around 240, 245 in that area, I believe, Mr. Hoskins. And like I said, I'd have to pull that document from when it was first the specs were, when the specs were, the bid specs were put out, and what came back in, like I said, 2014.
So after the original bid, how much more costs?
Hey, oh, please do me a favor, y'all, silence the cell phone, the
Yes.
flip phones.
Yes.
How much
all
more
the other
costs?
phones.
See everybody
Hold
trying
on,
to
brother,
come on,
please.
because that's all.
Can y'all silence, that's like the fifth time. Well, it's just because we're in a government meeting. I know that don't mean nothing to some people. But it interferes with the recording, and we on live line.
Got it.
So, I mean, if you can silence your flip phones and your smartphone, we can go on. Mr. Hoskins, you got the floor. Thank you, sir.
After the original bid, with the modification, how much more money did they want to finish the project?
So the money stayed the same. That was the dilemma that we had, Mr. Hoskins, was that the money amount didn't change. The cost of what was presented initially changed. It went up. The cost of steel, the cost of the parts that needed to go. So then that had to modify what we could build within the confines of the money that was allocated.
So the money didn't change, so we got less.
You got a structure that is not as long.
We got
Yes.
less.
Yes.
Okay, we got less. Now, after that happened, did other people bid on this job?
Did other people bid on the, yeah, there were
Okay.
3 bids received for that project.
After this price change, did we contact those other people and see if they could do what we wanted for the same price?
So the city, when the city initially approved this in 2014, okay, it stayed dormant until roughly 2017, 18. Then that's when the bids went out.
So there was no completion date.
So no, there was a 5-year completion date on it because we had a grant dollars from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We got a grant from there, and then the supplement to that was going to be the community development block grant dollars. You had to spend the USDA money within 5 years. So through 2014 to now, what has happened and transpired is that you had a bid spec set initially. When that bid spec was given a cost analysis in 14, that same bid spec that was bid out in 2017 was now more money. But what we had at that time was we were under constraints by HUD to spend money that was allocated to the city that had been allocated over 3 or 4 years prior. So now what you have is a bid specification with a cost analysis that now 4 years later, 3 years later, the same building costs you X amount of dollars more. And so now you have this money that you have set aside for it that you're going to use to spend on it.
But originally, we could get that building that size.
Back then, yes, we
Okay,
could.
well, why we wait till several years for a deadline to happen to get something done? See, now we at the deadline, now is no wiggle room. But 5 years ago, we could have got another contractor because we had,
Absolutely.
we're not getting what we want.
Absolutely, you had.
As a city, we're not getting what we want.
Right.
So we have to complain about that.
All right, thank you. Well, the truth is, we went through a whole lot of different plant economic development directors. At that time, we was under the emergency manager, so you had a lot more hoops that you had to jump through. At that time, I think
We're not getting what we want.
hey, feel free to get you some bricks and mortar and go the roofing material, and we can go out there together and put addition on.
I agree.
What? Mr. Duncan?
Yeah, we had plenty enough time to do everything else for everybody else.
Whoa.
If I said something wrong, you tell me, you the chair. Tell me I said something
That was
wrong.
my co-chair, I think.
No,
No.
please carry on, Mr. Duncan, I'm sorry.
everything that comes through here for, I'll just say everyone else, I won't just say Whirlpool and they stuff. I'll just say anybody else that comes here and wants something done, they get it done, and they get it done on a timely manner. The EFM, or whatever you guys call him, he's been gone a long, long time. Long enough to have more done. And a lot of it was done without any of the commissioners' knowledge at all. Now, if that's the way we plan to continue, then maybe the citizens should be coming here and saying more than what's been being said. And I asked you guys if you wanted the citizens to come out in mass protest against you commissioners who want to take charge, you city managers and anybody else would just want to take charge and turn stuff around. We supposed to have we had the largest fruit market in the country. Now, all of a sudden, we're gonna have the dinkiest one. Because of what? Because the commissioner's not doing what they supposed to do, or the city manager doing more than what he's supposed to be doing, without you guys' approval. Y'all don't have no say-so in nothing. I mean, if you're not gonna have the correct say-so, why you got anything to say? Thank you.
Okay. 2 seconds, I promise.
Go ahead.
Um,
Manager Watson has the floor, please, no interruptions.
The statements of who did what and how it was being done, nothing was done that was not, that had not already been approved. Nothing was done that was not, when we said about about the city having the biggest farmer's market, that farmer's market that's been downtown that this was constructed for, there was nothing.
I don't, forget the comparison, just talk about this down here.
But that was a-
Hold on, brother, now, you had the flow, we didn't say nothing.
This
Let
is
the
not a
city-
town hall meeting.
I did not speak while Mr. Duncan made his
Yeah.
statement.
And excuse me
You
for
should
talking
not be
about you
badgering
talking.
the citizens. If they make it an irreverent
All right, y'all, well,
conversation,
I'm
you should
telling
just
you, I
let
can't
it
handle
go.
this. I can't do it. This is chaos.
I'm good, thank you.
No,
You
listen,
gotta do that.
just let him respond.
No, I'm
Say
good.
it like you did the last
No,
time.
I'm good.
Let him say, let
I'm
him
good.
respond to what you said, sir.
I have no problem, he said
That was
everything
his
you gotta
opinion.
say. That
But
was
let
my
him
opinion.
As a citizen.
He had nothing to say against my opinion.
But let him respond to the allegations that he's doing
wasn't
more.
It ain't even
allegation.
necessary.
Yeah, it was,
Just do
but
your
I'm
job. That's
good.
all I'm asking.
I'm good though.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Darrell.
I'm good, I'm not, it ain't even worth all
It
that.
ain't.
All right,
You make it that way.
so this is what was stated, that you are doing too much.
No.
Now he gonna do the same thing that you could've did.
This is
No,
what was
don't go
stated, that
there.
you were doing too
Don't
much.
go
Then
there,
blame it on the
Pastor.
citizens.
Don't go there, Pastor. Go
Commissioner
on to the
Henry,
next thing.
Commissioner
Don't go
Henry.
there, Pastor.
Come on, Commissioner Henry. Now you running for mayor, I don't want you to get.
And you running for who?
I'm running for the border.
Well, you-
This is, again, you're doing a good job, young lady.
Thank you.
Mrs. Jennings, you're doing a good job. I would commend the city manager for the job you're doing, because a couple of weeks ago, we didn't have nothing down there. Whether big nor small. And to see something being erected down there, that people are elated to see something happening with the money that, as you said, was been sitting down there for 5 years, that they were gonna take back. That's the other case in point that you might not realize. They were gonna take that money back if we did not do something with it. So I'd rather, as people said about the city income tax, I'd rather give a little. Everybody give a little, so everybody don't have to give a lot. So I commend you on the job well done. And it is also built for expansion. Isn't that building built for expansion?
Absolutely.
So the more money comes, we can do more to that building,
Absolutely.
but I'm thankful that we got something
Yeah,
done
me too.
at that property.
So,
Presentation from the Labor Union 355, per Clerk Thompson, we have a presentation. Thank you. Yield the floor to Labor Union 355.
I got a conversation with 355 and said that you told them not to come because something, and they didn't come, and
I
I
have
said,
not even spoke to them, they don't have my number. How would I tell them not to come?
well, I'm just telling you what was told to me, that they said that you told them not to come this meeting, that you would schedule them for another meeting.
Clerk Thompson, did you have contact with Labor Union 355?
Who are they?
They're the ones that we wanna talk about apprenticeship programs for our residents.
I never spoke to anybody, and that's kinda,
Well, I'm just telling you what was told to me, I don't know.
all right, well, they
By
never called.
whom? By whom?
Yeah.
The union, the representative from 355,
Who was it? What's his name?
Joe Blow.
Okay, well, Joe Blow said he can't come to give a presentation. Presentation from Frederick Carlock.
And he has not made it here.
Presentation from Frederick Carlock. And that presentation was scheduled by co-chair.
sorry, me, so.
Frederick Carlock was going to present about concerning,
If I may,
go ahead.
Honorable Chair, Mr. Carlock has, quite a bit of knowledge on solar and, savings. And since I think the nation, as well as other nations, are looking into energy saving tactics of how we can use wind, solar, air, whatever, to generate and cut back on greenhouse gases and things. Hopefully he can come in another time and give a presentation.
Is there any way you can text him and see if he's on the way after he's coming? Was he coming up down the highway?
I think so.
Is there any way you can just contact him and make sure, because I don't want nobody driving from Detroit or Jackson. Is that, no, that's Dr. Time, thank you.
Well, no, but if we'd like, to put it off for a moment, I actually amended the agenda for an update.
Yeah, well, can you call him?
I don't have his number,
You don't have his number?
and I can't access my email
Can
off
you-
my phone.
Does anybody got his number, Carlock? Nobody has his number, all right, we'll put that off for another,
Just a couple of minutes.
Couple minutes.
I requested an update on, the application process of medical marijuana.
on this committee.
Yes, sir.
Can we get does that have been added to my agenda? Clerk Thompson,
Commissioner Adams just added it right at the beginning of the meeting.
she just added it at the beginning of the meeting?
That you were late arriving to, sir.
No problem. I got here at 5:34. I'll take that. So we added the applications. Who would have the information about
Just
the
an
app?
update.
Who would have the update on the applications of marijuana?
I can give you a brief, quick update. What we're doing is we are in the process of finishing up the grower seeds to get them to the, planning commission in May. And then at the same time, the processes are being done, the last one to be done are the provisioning centers, and that is probably the biggest one we're gonna have to do. We're working through them. They're coming in, like I said, they've come in and we're doing that. Working with there's been some issues that we have had trying to get compliance with some of the aspects of the ordinance as it relates to the applicants. So we've been going back and forth between the attorney, myself, the applicants. We had some issues where one of the applications for one of the grow facilities that was gonna be on Milton ran into some issues as it relates to the DEQ, which is now a different name. But the discharge of their the waste product was gonna be an issue going into the sanitary sewer. So we were contacted by, Mr. Dale Ahanger, who handles the discharge permit for the city of Benton Harbor, the MS4 permit. And so that we're working through that to see if there's another alternative method that we can use for that. But those are the things that are going on right now behind the scenes, trying to get those so we can get them on the agenda, to move forward with them, starting, like I said, in May.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'd like to just say this. Over the weekend, there was an event hosted in Chicago. And it was a very large event. And these are 4 women doctors. I mean, doctors. And they're roaming the country. And they've got this movement going on to where they are demanding, not only educating the medical benefits of medical marijuana, and I'm not talking about smoking, whoever chooses to, that's their business. I'm talking about on a medical level. It's about to shut down some large pharmaceutical companies across this nation, but demanding that everybody that has ever been jailed or imprisoned for for marijuana be released. So,
What's the name of that group?
I forgot, but I got a chance to chime in to some of the live streaming that was being done nationwide, and be hearing from 'em. Yeah, be hearing from 'em.
Do they put an application in?
No, they're just educating those that choose to be educated.
City Clerk Thompson, could you please make note that Dr. Donald J. Tynes has made his arrival? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, through the chair to City Manager. And when you were talking about discharge and the Commissioner was talking about medical marijuana, one of the issues that we had found in the medical establishment was that, and myself, I used the medical marijuana to treat male breast cancer down in Detroit. We found that the percentage of the CBD was so small compared to the THC, and so now there's, are we set up or work with the state to regulate it, the concentration, because the CBD is the medical property, the THC is the get high property, and some of the manufacturers down there, we found that what they've been doing is a cheaper version that's mainly THC.
What transpired, Mr. Tynes, is the fact that what was given to the state as a byproduct of what would be discharged could not go to the Twin Cities wastewater plant, because it would then cause problems in that, reactions that would cause the wastewater plant to have some issues. So the state stepped in and said, if you're going to do this, you need to modify your process. And I don't know exactly what was the discharge byproduct, but that was what was the issue. And so he was like, if it's going to be like this, because those also have to go, when they go to the state level, the state gives to the DEQ because they look at their plans as well. So that's what, and he let us know then that we could not, through our MS4 permit, which is what we use to, I'm not MS4, I'm sorry, our sanitary survey, our sanitary discharge permit, we couldn't allow that to be done and authorize it. And so he let us know ahead of time that we could not approve it as it was, and they were working with the company to get that modified, and they would let us know.
Think, high school.
No, I didn't have anything.
You said something on the farmer's market, I think you said.
Oh, yes.
They're not gonna permit the farmer's market to sell. They can't go to the farmer's market
Moved
tonight.
on from there.
I think you got a question with marijuana in the farmer's market.
No, I don't have nothing to do with the
Oh,
marijuana.
I'm sorry.
This
Go
is a statement on the farmer's market I'm a citizen rep, and the farmer's market is one of our pride and joys. And so we want to be appreciative of whatever the city does for the community, but we want the city to look like they're putting their best foot forward also. So when we don't feel that, we complain. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this meeting. I'm sorry, Mr. Duncan.
Yeah, I won't ever feel like I complain. I will always feel like I have concerns, and whoever don't like it, then tough.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan.
But since we finished talking about all of what you guys want to talk about, I want to ask through the chair if there has been any discussions or anything done or said about the down on the river where we could have our buoys put in. If there's been any discussion, anything come back, it's another summer. Just about, through the chair, I'm just asking you to ask Mr. Watson to answer the question. You don't have to have nothing to say to me right now.
3 years?
Just do what I'm asking and that'll do for me.
Has it been 3 or is this 4?
Mr. Watson, what time is your office?
It's been 3 or 4 days.
8:30, sir.
Your office over there 8:30 in the morning? Every morning?
Yes, sir.
Number of your office is 927-8401.
8457 is the direct number.
Thank you.
Mr. Watson, if you didn't want to answer the question, you could just, you got all the power. All you got to do is just say, hey, Mr. Duncan, I don't want to answer that question. Talk to me tomorrow or something. I'm in a public meeting asking a question as a citizen, and I'm having a commissioner just X me out. Now, what is that? Are any of the rest of you guys in agreement with what's going on right now?
Mr. Duncan, you just requested me not to say anything to you, so I wasn't going to use your name.
I only want an answer, and you can't give it to me. And I would like to have it now. I don't have to wait till tomorrow to see if he's done anything about
Public Safety Director.
if he's done anything about the buoys or not, or if there's gonna be something done about the buoys or not. That's it.
All right, thank you. Public Safety Director Dan McGinnis, is there any way you can tell us, is there anything being done about the safety of the water for adding buoys to the water down there? I mean, I think that would fall under public safety and park and recreation. But is there any word on the buoys? Can anybody from safety or the city manager answer that question? Are we planning on putting buoys out there?
You have anything, sir? Okay. Okay. The gentleman who said that they would put the buoys out, Mr. Harry Leonardson, who happens to be a former police person that works here. When we had the no-wake zone, has made contact with us, and he is still planning to put the buoys out.
Simple.
Do you have a timeline on that?
I'd have to ask him what the timeline is, because he said he would maintain and put them out.
Okay, Mr. Frederick.
Thank you, through the chair.
So that's gonna be done?
Yes, they Pier 1000 has committed to do that, and they said they would continue, they were gonna do so.
Thank you. Commissioner Henry.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'd like to ask, I know that there was a time frame for medical marijuana in the growers, but I want to know if you gave the growers 30 days to get back with them to solve all their problems, was there work being done on the other applicants as well? Or if not, or if it was, is there a timeline of completion of that process for the dispensaries and the other applicants?
Do question I have to the clerk real quick. If this was gonna be a issue brought to a committee, what is the right committee to bring this to?
This one.
It's economic,
economic development.
and it's
Did
planning.
we have anything to do with the licensing or the application process?
Yep.
City manager.
Yep.
Do we have,
Did this committee have anything to do with the licensing or the application?
no, not this committee directly, no.
So what would be the proper place to talk about the applications and timeframes
What,
with the?
it would be, I'm sorry, it would be dependent upon what the commission decided, where they decided to put it at. Again, the committee did not have, the commission passed the ordinance, and the ordinance outlined the process. The process did not identify a committee that it would come through, other than it said that the planning commission would get it for the purposes of providing a special use permit, and then subsequent to that, it would go to the city commission for final approval. That's what the ordinance says.
When will we see anything, the commission?
Once it comes out of, as the ordinance says, it goes to the planning commission. Planning commission makes a recommendation of a contingent special use permit, contingent upon the passing of it by the city commission.
Okay, if I may, through the chair, there's 4 complete that are headed to the planning commission. When do they meet again? And after their meeting, when should the full body expect to start looking over the process, or whatever recommendations the planning commission set forth?
So the planning commission meets the first Tuesday of the month of May, so that would be May 7th. The first city commission meeting is May 6th. Understanding that, Commissioner Adams, that the documents that you would have to look at, that you're gonna be provided, we're gonna have to make 9 copies of probably about 1,000 pages of each.
Okay.
What I would think is that in order for the commission to have time to do their due diligence, that they would entertain them sometime in June. That's just what I would
Okay,
say.
no. My question was, after the planning commission and after it has gone through the process of all of these departments, we should have a smaller view of the process.
No, you have to,
Of you all's recommendations. I'm just asking.
you have, so, once it goes through the review process, and it gets to the planning commission special use permit, you honestly could turn it down.
Mhm.
You don't, it's not that it's gonna automatically be
Right.
approved.
Right.
So, in order for you to understand what the entirety of the process is, you need to see the entirety of the document.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One other thing, you mentioned something about the
Whoa,
waste.
whoa.
This is another question
Whoa.
concerning the update.
But this,
No, this is very important.
I understand that, Commissioner, but what I'm saying to everybody who is on this board outside of the city, represent the city reps and the citizens, nobody calls Mr. Watson during office hours asking these questions. He has an open door
Well, we're trying to
that we
wait
can
for
call
someone
and
that's
get
coming down the highway.
emails.
You don't know how to handle it.
I mean, if we don't have the fellow's phone number, I don't think you should sit here and
Well, I tried to text him and he hasn't texted me back,
wait.
so I don't think he has
Is
the
there
same
any,
number.
go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and if you have to be somewhere, I can hold it down.
It's not be somewhere, it's just the point of that we're
Okay.
adding.
Okay, well, I won't take up any
Adding.
more, too much more time, if I may. I'm thinking about the substance. You know, the hemp in a plant is made of rope. And I'm trying to think of how we can utilize something like that to do something to create some jobs. Now, how can that not be economically, in the form of some type of development?
Okay. So, City Manager Watson, can you look into that, the hemp?
No, it's just a question as to, is that something that's possible? Since the chair had a question about such a thing coming through planning and economic development. It starts with planning, having an economical plan, and trying to create something.
Can we find out if we can utilize that hemp rope? Anybody?
You can utilize all of it is what I'm trying to educate you on.
Yes, I do appreciate that. The hemp.
Chair, I didn't get my question answered.
Commissioner Henry?
I would like to know, for the other applicants that have applied that are not growers, is there a time frame that we might be entertaining their completing their project?
Could y'all just respectfully let her ask a question?
I'm not asking them. You know who I'm asking.
City Manager Watson, did you hear the question that was asked?
I did.
Could you please respond to the question that was asked?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Henry, we will continue to work on all of the applications. What we're finding is that a lot of these applications have several deficiencies. As you match it up against the ordinance. And what we've done is we've worked through and worked diligently with the applicants to get the application right.
We're speaking growers?
We're speaking all of them.
Okay.
Because all of them have come with some deficiencies, one way or the other. As an example, one of the criteria is that you have to have a physical address. We've had ones that have submitted that said the address is to be determined. We can't do that. So we're working through those nuances. We could easily just say it's deficient, it's denied, we move on. But again, these are the first ones that we've gotten. In fairness to them, to allow them to at least have an opportunity to do it, we've given them some time to get the stuff right. So that's what's going on. And again, 90% of them have something wrong with them. There's something wrong with them as the ordinance is written, they can't or they did not match when they did their initial submittal.
I'll come to your office and get more detailed information because time-wise, this is drug on long enough. I'm looking at Niles, Bangor, all of them making money already. And we're still in the process. Even though we asked for an outside contractor who know how to do it to make it happen, and it didn't. So that's why I need to know, is there a time frame? But I'll need that from you.
I can answer that really kind of quick.
No, you don't need to. I'm coming to your office and I can ask.
Let me just say this though, Commissioner.
If you,
Your ordinance is your problem. It's not the process. The ordinance that was written has some stipulations that people are finding it hard to match. We have to go by the playbook. It's not the players, it's the playbook. That is the stickler that's causing the delay.
I'll be in your office and ask for an appointment where you can give me more detail on what you're talking about. Thank you.
Okay.
Chair.
You don't have to give them respect.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michael Hoyt. Last Thursday I attended.
Yeah, address, please.
I have property at 972 Pavone. I live in Waterloo.
No problem.
Thank you. Last Thursday I attended the meeting at Berrien County Administration Building. At that time they did the Berrien County Equalization Department finalization report, which is done by Anthony E. Maynard. And at that time they did the report on millages. They did the report on millages and the millages for Berrien County. Benton Harbor, for the first time in 28 years, had an uptick in their property value. Okay, it went up 6%. At that time, County Commissioner Don Meeks asked some very great questions. So we asked that at the side conversation was to actually bring Anthony Maynard here, who is the director of equalization for the Department of Berrien County, to do a presentation about millages and how they work and how Benton Harbor could possibly get their millages lowered. Okay, so I had his business card. I told him I would make the communication. So if you'd like to do something like that, bring him in. We'll do a workshop on millages and how they work, how they apply to the city. For the first time in 28 years, Benton Harbor showed the first uptick at 6%. No other city in Berrien County even did anything compared to it. Okay, so I'm just letting you know, I have his business card. He'll be happy to come here if you'd like to put him on your agenda. And he'll come and do a workshop. You can ask any questions you want. So I just want to bring that forward if you'd like to do that. Thank you.
That was about the marijuana application?
Nope.
You talking about the village seminar?
Yeah.
Village,
All right,
taxes.
do me a favor. What's your office?
I'm sorry,
What's your office hours?
8:30 to 5, sir.
What's your office hours, Deputy Clerk? Deputy Clerk Thompson,
Y'all don't need to be doing the announcement for
Ms.
8:30
Thompson,
to 5.
8:30 to 5. If you could please give them that information and have it on my committee next time.
I would be happy to do so.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
don't mind doing it. As long as we got paperwork and this is not just to jump on and we have a conversation. Dr. Tynes, final.
Well, their report will be out on Thursday, just to let you know, so you'll actually be able to see it in print on Thursday,
Good,
tomorrow.
appreciate that.
No problem.
You talking about the water leak or been on?
For the county,
Oh, county, all right.
for the county.
All right. Appreciate it. Dr. Tynes, please.
Just looking at things in terms of the economic development, the farmers market, the labor union, and this gentleman, Frederick Carlock, and what was said, even the word gentrification. There needs to be some substantiation as to if there is an increase in property value, and also an evaluation to make sure that there's not a shift in property value. What we know from New Hempstead, New Jersey, from Harlem, New York, and from areas of Detroit, that African American and minority communities had an increase in their assessments, and then the other businesses, and this happens to be predominantly European businesses, had a little bit of a decrease in their assessment. So economic and development must also make sure that we monitor those processes, because gentrification is a real entity. We know that from Watts also. So, and then we also know that from the Tax Equalization Board that we wind up having a proposal submitted to break federal state law and tax churches. So I think an analysis of putting this on the agenda in the future is well warranted.
Thank you for coming out.
Commissioner Caesar, if I ask just one quick question. What I thought I heard Mr. Hoy say was that the taxable value in the city went up 6%. Therefore, we would lower the millages, which means that the taxes would go down. Is that what I heard you say, that the property values went up 6% and we were the only one in the county?
Yes, sir. I don't understand all about the millages, but that is what I took away along with Don Meeks.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, because here's the thing, just quickly on millages. The city is at the highest allowed millage in the state of Michigan. You can't go up anymore. So if the millage rate, if the taxable value has gone up, that means you can roll back your millage rates so that your taxes aren't as high.
Thank you, Honorable Manager. Thank you.
Yeah, just clarification. So mine was the analysis, what I presented. I don't mind the millages coming down, but the analysis is how did it come down? That's what I'm looking at.
Well, during our next meeting, we're gonna have them come and do a presentation on how that happened. And so we'll all be educated, and the gentrification came from, the statement came from Commissioner Henry. My last question my last statement to our clerk and my last statement to the community is this is the reason why I want black and white documentation when it comes to agenda. I got 2 items on my agenda that nobody showed up, nobody came. The one said they talked to me and I don't know how they talked to me and I don't even know his name. I don't know how he got my number. The other guy, he's supposed to be on the highway and he ain't responding to the text message, nobody got his phone number. Then we had 2 other items that had nothing to do with anything that we had. Tonight we were even supposed to talk about the resolution on water. What did that have to do with this committee? We're having a special meeting on Monday concerning the same thing. So that's the reason why it's important for us to run. This will not happen in no other municipality but Ben Oliver. that people show up and add to the agenda that's already in place. I don't even know how that's legal. That we add to agenda without consensus or anything right before the meeting. My last statement question has something to do with 200 Park Park. What are we doing with the old Carl Brown building? What's the status on that?
As it sits right now, Commissioner, there is, the building is vacant. We've had people who've had interest in it, but nothing has come forward to be presented as a plan or idea to be given to a committee to be vetted, to then be given, having a vote by the city
What
commission.
price we asked for last known?
210,000, I think it was. Yeah, so, but again,
Try to get that sold in a month. There's no use in holding on to that property for no reason.
I like to see farmers
Market going
I'd
on?
like to see it used for what it was there for.
Business.
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
What do we need? Jobs, small businesses. That's the life of America, is small business. So sell it to Cornerstone so they can put what they want into.
The part of clarity is that building was named after my cousin, Carl Brown.
It's an incubator.
Whose grandmother was Ellerette Brown, who was my grandfather's first cousin. Who lived over there on Broadway
I don't
Street.
care if it was Dwayne Seats. It's still built for
And the
entrepreneurship.
grant that it was built under, the money that came from Governor Blanchard. But we have to do something with the building because it's sitting there now not being occupied. And the longer you don't occupy something, the more it's gonna need some money to rehab later. I can probably find somebody willing to leave it as a business incubator and still do whatever they need to do with it. I'm not, these key words like Cornerstone and Whirlpool and all that stuff and Harbor Shores, you know, that's like saying the boogeyman nowadays when a lot of us the one gave them the property.
Yeah, you sure did.
We sat there and voted,
Sure did.
gave them the property, and a lot of this stuff happened before I was even on the commission. Harbor Shores,
Shame, shame.
so, Mr. Watson, I do appreciate you coming to our meeting. Young lady, I do appreciate you. I want to say this in my meeting publicly. I appreciate, Chief Dan McGinnis. I'm saying this publicly. There was a man over there who was dumping, by a piece of property that was close to us. He came jolly on the spot and took care of the situation. And to see the police over there and the manpower to stop illegal dumping is tremendous. And I hope we can catch more of them, legal dumping and throwing couches down there. But I think our greatest, what I'm finding out, greatest thing we worried about ain't legal dumping, ain't none of that, ain't jobs, really nothing. It's about what Dr. Tyne said that we're not worried about. You can get CBD oil everywhere now. Every gas station in Benton, we got it. They got gummy bears, they got gummy worms, they got pistol. So, Clerk, I commend you for not putting some stuff on my agenda. And that's the reason why that resolution that you was trying to pass about this throwing stuff on the agendas is a waste of time. If you don't have no paperwork or no leg with it. So I commend you for doing your job in an excellent manner. I know we got an election coming up and we support you 100% in your endeavors. I think everybody deserves a raise. So let's get everybody a raise. How about that? Thank you. Thank you for coming out.